My name is Sophie Tremblay, and this is my persuasive speech. When is the last time you got rid of a shirt? Did it fit weird or become out of style? Did you throw it in the trash or donate it to the local thrift store? Large clothing companies deal with this issue every single day, and especially if they have a larger inventory. If one of their items has a flaw or it isn't selling well, they need to get rid of it. And rather than donating to those in need, repurposing the material, or selling at a lower price, these companies are discarding of it. According to Earth.org, around 92 million tons of textile waste are getting produced every single year. The rate in which we're consuming and disposing of clothes is actively destroying the environment. But we as humans only choose to care about the happiness we get when we receive clothing rather than the environment and ecosystems that we should be protecting. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you why I believe every company should be taxed based on their annual non-biodegradable waste emissions. Another article from Earth.org states that around 60% of clothing is now being made with synthetic material. Synthetic material is made out of petroleum, meaning it's non-biodegradable. In addition to this, in America, around 11.3 million tons of textile waste are getting dropped off into landfills, which also happen to be the dumping zone of many major factories. This is a very big issue because if we're dumping all of our clothes into some big piles, where's it all going to go? Well, the answer is nowhere. It can take anywhere from 20 to 300 years for clothing to partially decompose, as it will never fully decompose. And as the clothing is sitting there, it piles up and keeps adding on. When it has access to the dirt and it rains, a lot of toxic and unnatural dyes will infiltrate into the ground and ruin our underground ecosystems. So, what happens to the waste that isn't getting put into the landfill? Well, it's getting burned. When waste is getting burned, there's three main factors: time, money, and exclusivity. Time and money are some of the more common factors because it is faster and cheaper to burn their items rather than find a place to store it and pay for that space. When it comes to exclusivity, it can often be overlooked, but when brands want their items to be viewed as high-end and their items are now getting sold at cheaper stores, people won't perceive the value to be high and won't want to pay the normal high prices for them anymore. Burberry is a great example of this because they are a high-end brand who used to burn all their extra clothing, perfume, and bags. Burberry used to do this, and when their customers found out, they stopped purchasing from them. Burberry then had to change their ways, and it took them years to gain customer trust back. So, the environment is just one factor of this proposal. The other is money. If companies are forced to pay this tax, they'll be incentivized to produce products that do not emit this much waste so that they won't have to pay the tax. Companies want to make the most amount of money possible, so if they have to pay the tax, they're going to have to raise the price on their items. Patagonia is a good example of a company who won't have to pay this tax. Their mission is to save the earth, and they have started a lot of new incentives, like their repair policy, which is that people can send in their items for free, and Patagonia will try to repair them for free and all the customer has to do is pay for shipping. They also use a lot of recycled material rather than non-biodegradable material, although they have to use some non-biodegradable material because there are no alternatives. Since this tax doesn't apply to Patagonia, they will not have to pay, and their business will be encouraged and not punished. Unfortunately, this is not the case for every company. For some companies, this can actually be a burden. When this tax is applied to them, they'll be forced to take accountability for their clothing and produce stuff with less waste. Since their goal, like I mentioned previously, is to make profit, if their target audience finds out about this, they will stop purchasing from them as often. A good example of this is Keurig. Keurig was fined $3 million back in 2018 because they had misleading packaging. Their packaging stated that their items were recyclable, but really they were not. This lost a lot of customer trust, and it took them years to build back this trust. These will not only affect companies, but also consumer mindsets. The higher the prices are, the more mindful people will have to be when purchasing. When people are purchasing products, and they have to look at the price, and if the prices are higher, they're going to be buying less things. According to BCG, over 30% of shoppers have switched from their preferred retailers over to cheaper retailers just because of the affordability. This can be an issue if this tax proposal is put in place, because when businesses increase prices, customers will pay less, meaning the businesses will get less revenue, which is what companies aim for. Overall, we will always buy clothing because it is a necessity. But if we limit our consumption and figure out other ways to dispose of it, it would be better for the environment. If we're buying less, companies will make less money and won't be able to pay the tax, meaning they will have to change their ways to save the environment and keep their business running. I encourage you to think again when you're buying clothes, and not just about if the style is cute, but about what the company you're buying from does with the materials after. Thank you.